Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. We have a special guest today, and it is Michael. How do you say your last name?
Koepenick.
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 I am so phonetic with last names. I almost said it wrong. That's why I asked you. Michael Koepenick, who we met like 15 years ago when I first moved to
Yeah.
Atlanta. So I've known Mike for a while, and I've seen his career and seen what he's been doing. It's very cool. We're going to talk about the Atlanta Film Festival and a featured documentary he worked on, basically Frightened, some TCM interstitials, and his production company also, which is called Guillotine, where they do post and production. So, Mike, how are you?
I'm great. Great. Glad to be here.
Good to
Hey,
see.
I don't know if it's on. When I look over at Facebook, I'm seeing like a blue Skype square.
Oh,
So I don't know if it's coming through live.
that's interesting.
I see the logo.
Thank you
Um,
for telling me that.
oh, I-
Because, yeah, we went live for a second there, which was very strange. Let me see. This is good to know. Oh, yeah, no, we are live now. So
okay.
you may be on some kind of delay, but here we go. I could show you.
Oh, there it is. All
There it
right.
is. We're live
Now I
on
can see it.
Facebook. Uh,
All right. Cool.
um,
Yeah, that works. I see
so
it now.
so it's all good. Oh, very cool. Yeah, there is like a
Glad to
few
be
second
here.
few second delay.
Yeah.
So you're at your home now, right? You're not at the
Yes.
studio?
Home
Okay.
studio.
Home
Yeah.
studio, and you've been working from home with COVID and all that?
Yeah. Got the COVID haircut, and
Yeah.
not too bad really, but.
Yeah, I got to get one
But
too.
yeah, here working at the house a lot. We still go to the studio occasionally, but it's kind of convenient working at home, so no
Yes.
problem there.
Kind of
Yeah.
nice. Okay, so I just have to get through a couple of ads here. I'm going to start with this
Okay.
one from Restream, and I will be right back. So just hold on a second.
Okay.
You have some water? Drink some water. I'll be right there. Hey, everybody, this is Restream. Um, it is a service that goes from your live to several places. It also has a live studio. It's very cool. I'm using it right now to go to Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And in your live broadcast, there is a link that you can go to, but there's also a little ticker here that will tell you how to go to the live. I also have Ecamm Live, which you'll see some information about, which is a software that I'm using. Geek Vibes Nation, this logo you see above us, is a network that I'm on. And that information will be here also. They're very cool. They do sports, entertainment, podcasts, so check them out. Hey to Kanan and Tia. And that's it for ads. So we're good, Mike. We can start our
All right.
conversation. So, whew, that's a lot of stuff for me to get through. I will ask you the first question, which I always
Okay.
ask, which is, how did you know you wanted to be in the film and TV industry? Were you a kid? Were you in college? When did you just say, okay, this is what I want to do?
I guess first I was really into music, and I thought I wanted to do just music
Okay.
full time, and then learned pretty quickly. I had a band in high school and college, and then once I moved to Atlanta, it was the prospect of making money and being in a band was pretty slim. So I started thinking about other possibilities, and I thought, well, always been into film and video, photography, that kind of stuff. And my uncle was in Atlanta doing in the advertising biz.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, I'll just come down here and see what happens. And then he introduced me to some production companies, and I was like, this sounds better than anything else I can think of, and it pays. So I kind of got on board with a company called O'Connor Burnham Productions, and I learned everything there from E6 lab. We did multi-image shows, and then they started to do video. And I was like, hey, I want to do video. And everyone else is like, yeah, we don't really want to deal with that. We'll just stick with the slides. So I had great opportunities all these cool projects for like Bell South Shareholders Convention, IBM, Arby's, all kinds of cool videos that I was able to kind of be in on the ground floor. And in a lot of ways helping our company learn about video. There was some trial by fire.
Right. And was that in Atlanta? I missed that. Was that in it?
Yeah.
Okay, it was in Atlanta.
That was in Atlanta. I got here in 87 and started in probably about the fall of 87. I got in my, a real production company. So,
okay.
Oh, I did deliver AV equipment for a few months before that for corporate AV. So I used to borrow their cameras and shoot music videos with the band and, did slide projector show for my friend's band, like with this crazy images kind of morphing into each other during their live set. So, then once I was at O'Connor Burnham, then I really kind of was able to take on my own projects and have some budget and, hire DPs that I thought were really good and learned so much in that process. It was great.
Right. And were you just an editor there, or were you already directing and producing?
I was pretty young. I was probably 19 or 20. They wouldn't give me like a director position.
Okay.
I was an art director and a producer.
Okay.
And then I edited all the productions that we did. So in that process, we did one 35 millimeter film, shot on film, projected on film on 2 different projectors live at this Bell South shareholders event. And that was an incredible learning experience. And luckily it went without a hitch. But it was a little scary at times. The negative cutter was like, Michael, all your time codes don't mean anything to me. I need the film edge code, key code. And that didn't used to be automatically displayed. So, it's a big learning curve.
Yeah, I remember when I worked at McCann Erickson, New York, and this is something I didn't even know that could happen. We were doing something for the Olympics, but it was a fundraiser. I don't know, but it was for the Olympics, so it was a big deal. And we were also doing some commercials for them. But for some reason, I kept sending it over to the video company that was showing the video, and they kept saying it was out of sync. But we were sitting in the edit room and it wasn't out of sync. And we were like, what's going on? We sent them another copy and another. So it was playing that night at 8 o'clock. We sent them 3 copies. And finally I went over there with the producer and listened to it, and it was out of sync. And what I didn't realize, and I don't know if you know about this, Michael, but 2 of the cables in my edit room were out of phase.
All right.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it actually played in sync in the edit room. So we just went to another edit room and laid it off, and it was fine. And the engineers had to fix it. But I was like, no, we just watched it 10 times. It's in sync. What are you talking about? And of course, it was like 8 o'clock that night, and we sent it, that day. So, yeah, stuff happens, and
it's amazingly complicated. Video has gotten so much easier. It used to be ridiculously complicated.
Yeah, it used to be crazy complicated, and I was not ever. I don't know how you were in the tape room, but I was not ever an aficionado in the tape room. Like, some guys will walk in and have 4 decks going and punching in time codes, and I'd be like, okay, what do I do next? Because I was never an assist. I just went right to editor. Yeah. So I didn't spend years as an assist doing that stuff.
No, I didn't assist at all. I did all my own offlines, and then I would online them with, an online editor at whatever facility.
Right.
And then once I learned Avid, then I was working as a freelancer everywhere. So, I had to learn the tape room at Peachtree Post, at Magic Lantern, at Berkeley Park Post, or AVPC, or Crawford. They have 3 machine rooms. So that was a nightmare anytime you had to go in there. I was doing Hercules promos, and I'd have to run stuff from a deck that's 300 feet away through various patch bays and try to get it. Glad those days are pretty much over.
Yeah, it's all digital now. It's so much nicer. And the remote thing. When I was at Turner, I was pushing the remote thing so much, and they were reluctant. But now, obviously, everybody's remote, and everybody can see that it's just It's pretty easy. I mean, there are certain
Yeah,
situations where you definitely want, I think when you're doing a documentary with a producer and you kind of want to be in the room with them or something, but
sure. Yeah,
in most cases, you can get a little FaceTime or what we're doing here, a little Skype or something, a Zoom and
yeah,
on one computer and show the other computer and just work. You don't have to be in the same room, which is
yeah.
nice.
It is nice.
So you
Yeah.
have done so much stuff. You had Guillotine Post, you have Guillotine Pictures. We're just calling it Guillotine, but let's start with basically Frightened. And
Okay.
so this was a feature film. It was a documentary. We're going to show a clip, but if you can set it up and talk about what we're about to see, it's the trailer. That would be great.
Yeah. So this film came to us from a director producer, Tom Lawson, and he was trying to get it edited. Originally, he thought he could edit it in 2 weeks, and we were like, "Yeah, I don't think so." And then we started digitizing. We were helping him out. It turned into kind of a decade-long epic battle to get this film finished.
Okay.
And in the end, Colonel Bruce asked me to finish it, and it was complicated. There were all kinds of legal problems, and 2 years later, we had the rights to finish an old film. So then we had to shoot some more interviews, finish it up, and so in 2012, it debuted at the Atlanta Film Festival,
Okay.
and and from there, it was at the Oxford Film Festival. It won Best Music Documentary there, and Macon Film Festival won Best Music Doc, and also was at Oxford. So it's gotten around, but the music licensing is still hanging it up from being released
Oh, really?
worldwide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think 70 different music cues in there, um, which seemed like a good idea at the time. But now I'm still working through the licensing stuff.
And how long did it take you to work on this documentary? I mean, I know there were some issues where you went back and forth, but actual physical time, because I've interviewed some documentary editors, and they said about 7 months is the time that it would take to
Yeah.
do like an hour-long documentary.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. It does take a long time. I mean, even when you're working in long form, even to sit back and watch, 20 minutes worth or an hour worth, that's an hour of time you just lost. And then you can think of 1,000 things you want to go in and fix and redo. This one took so long, and it ran out of money, and then it got money again. It ran out of money. It was not really done in a streamlined way. So I think if you write your script ahead of time, I wouldn't recommend doing all your edit in the edit room from beginning to end, writing your story, because it gets really just takes forever. And if you're at a facility, you're going to run through your budget if you don't really know where your story's headed
Right.
before you get into the post room. When this came in for post-production, they really had no idea what they were going to do. They ended up having a 4-hour cut at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I was like, why don't I help you guys? I'll cut this thing down. I
Right.
ended up with a 90-minute cut, and then they said, it's really great, but they want to add another half hour, 40 minutes back in. It ended up, I think, in the end at 88 minutes, which is a good length, but it just takes a long time to figure out what you need in your story and what you really don't need.
Right. And so we're about to show this clip, but people can't see this in America? Are you saying internationally they can't see it? Is it on YouTube
No,
or Netflix or something?
no, it used to be. We had it. We
Okay.
thought we had a deal with people that said they were going to handle the publishing, but they didn't actually. They don't seem to have done it. I have no paperwork. I have no legal stuff.
Right.
So I'm selling. I have the DVD you can buy on eBay,
Okay.
and I'm looking to try to get it released properly if I can afford the licensing.
Okay. And this, I watched a little bit of the trailer. The musician's name is
Colonel Bruce Hampton.
Colonel Bruce Hampton, and he's famous for sort of being a predecessor to some of the music scenes in the South, right?
Yeah, I'd say the jam band movement. You know, his band started back when the Allman Brothers were really starting here
Okay.
in Georgia, '69, the Hampton Grease Band. But by the time, I guess in the late '80s, '90s, he started the Aquarium Rescue Unit, incredible band that influenced Widespread Panic, Blues Traveler, Fish, like the whole jam band movement. Pretty much looks at Bruce and his band and like, that is the ultimate.
That is the ultimate. Okay, all right, let's check this out. This is very cool. This is basically Frightened, the documentary about Colonel Bruce Hampton. Here we go.
I've always been blown away by the Colonel.
I definitely think he's the father of whatever quote-unquote jam band or alternative scene there is.
He's just a musical genius.
He may well be the Vincent van Gogh of rock and roll music.
The eye of the hurricane, the distressed calm is Bruce Hampton.
Bruce is the eighth wonder of the world.
Our jaws were dropped just watching him.
It was definitely the most far-out thing I'd ever seen.
I was always sort of a little bit afraid of him. I may still be.
I basically am frightened of moral turpitude. I'm scared of politicians who have no hobbies.
He's a mess man. I love him.
He is a chart topper troubadour like myself.
It was like meeting some kind of elder statesman. It was like meeting the leader of a country.
Bruce has a knack for finding the best players around.
He gives musicians a lot of freedom, and I think that's why so many great musicians came out of his band, because they were able to get a voice.
He's kind of like a guru to a lot of people.
Before I met Bruce, I almost gave up music a couple of times. I definitely wouldn't be where I am today musically or career-wise if it wasn't for the Colonel.
We started taking lessons from them.
I think he impacts our life every day and in every way. I don't see an end to the impact.
He taught me about leaving your ego at the door and just bringing your heart in to play music.
Never take yourself serious. That's so silly. Take what you do serious. And there's nothing more disgusting than seeing a serious musician.
If I had never met Bruce, I'd probably be more of an egotistical jerk and a hell of a lot less of a musician than I am now.
We all feel like we're his kids or we're his family.
He's a musical father figure for sure. Yeah, more like a crazed uncle, actually, you know. Somebody you're a little scared of.
A Frank on you.
Colonel Bruce Hampton.
Very cool, Michael. I mean, you had big people in there, Fish Skies and Dave Matthews.
Yeah.
And I mean, these people were influenced by him. That's very cool. And he's kind of a fun musician. And yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Grateful Dead, is jamming out there. I went to see, oh God, what is the band with Bootsy Collins and George Clinton? Parliament
Funkadelic.
I went to see Parliament Funkadelic in New York City. And they were supposed to go on at 11. They went on at 1:30 in the morning, and I left at 4 because I had to work at 8 a.m. And they were still going. I mean, they just have like 20 people, and they keep leaving the stage and coming back. And I just love
George
that kind of jam music.
Yeah.
And it kind of comes from jazz, right?
Sure. Yeah, I think a good part of it is jazz. It's about, Bruce Hampton was all about, he didn't want to do the same performance every time. He was always looking for, keep it fresh. He liked to put spirit in the room. That's how he would describe it. And doing that, everyone playing can't just be doing their same old stuff. You have to be listening and be ready, because something different might start happening, and you got to go. First, they used to walk around looking at each other and trying to decide each other's intent in playing music. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you living in a van, driving around, and doing this for a living? You know, what is the burning passion inside you? So it was inspiring in a lot of ways to work on that film.
Yeah, we just
yeah,
it looks a lot of fun, and I like the way it was edited, and I like the graphics. You just so you know, you were breaking up a little bit there. We had some problems with that offline. I don't know what's going on. I think it's okay. My girlfriend has been on Zoom all morning, and she's had issues. So I think the internet is about to explode from Zoom. Like, there's just too many people on Zoom, and they're screwing up all the live stream shows. I think that's what's happening. But so you're in a band also. We had a picture on the promo. Is it Dangerous Basement or is it someone else?
Yeah, Dangerous Basement is my current band. Been playing together since about 2000. Some of the same guys were in Chief Seattle, which was a band I was in the 90s. We were like folk rock, kind of, you know, socially conscious music. And then this band is more like back to the electric guitars and rock and roll and, you know, having a good time. We still write a lot of music. We really do almost all originals. So, we have a lot of fun with it. And it's just, you know, it's not for, it's really just for us. You know, the idea is let's do music that we really enjoy. And if anyone else likes it, great. But it's really for us, for our band.
And I interviewed Jimmy Guthrie a couple weeks ago, and you know Jimmy. We both know Jimmy. He's a great guy. He also has a band, Space Giants. And do you guys play with each other at any places or? You
know, it's possible that we will coming up. I mean, my band doesn't play out very often. We do occasionally. But we had a lot of members changing. A bass player moved to Germany.
Okay.
We picked another bass player friend joined us, and you know, we like to kind of get together and improv, and that's harder to do live. I have the ultimate respect for people that do that, like the Aquarium Rescue Unit, Colonel Bruce.
Right.
You know, amazing.
Yeah, I guess I'm not a musician, but I guess everybody has to sort of be paying attention, because you never know where it's going to go, and you got to be ready to switch it up and change, which is probably not easy to do for 4 hours. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about TCM. And you made a promo. I used to work at Turner, so I've seen a ton of these, and I love these. They're called This Month, and they're kind of interstitials, montages to music, and you have a lot of freedom with these, right?
Yes. Yeah, they were so much fun. You had about 2 weeks and probably 100 films to pull from. So it was a tough challenge because it took forever to go through these films and find the clips and what 3 seconds out of this 2-hour movie are you going to put in? And then Scott McGee was he was a production assistant on that one, and he was up every night, late at night, watching all these films. He had all these great notes for us every morning, and Kelly Christensen was the producer, and we just slugged it out, and we had probably 20 cuts before you end up with where it's going to end up.
Right.
This was tough because we had things like W.C. Fields mixed with films of Michael Curtiz, which are very serious, dramatic films. A lot of melodrama in there, and trying to and also the films of the spaghetti westerns, which is a great genre in itself. So trying to combine these was pretty tricky until we found the right music and the right kind of combination for it all. And Robbie Robertson does the voiceover for this.
Oh, he does? That is so cool. Did you know when you were there, when you were working with Scott and everybody, did you know Charlie Coates?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked with Charlie a ton.
You did?
Yeah, we did a lot of work together. He's so much fun.
He is. So I worked with him a bunch of times, and he is like a film insight. Not that Scott McGee isn't, but both of them are just like film encyclopedias. And oh yeah, that's in War and Peace in 1942. Of course, we can get that clip. Yeah, just amazing.
Well, and Charlie knows all the quotes from all these movies.
Right.
he can just be like, oh, that's from this, and
Right.
that's from. He's a good resource for sure.
Yeah, he was fun to work with. Okay, so we're gonna just show this. This is this month on TCM, and you said a little bit who the people were. It's spaghetti westerns. It's who else is in it?
The films of Michael Curtiz, and then W.C. Fields.
W.C. Fields, right?
So we tried to pull them all together in a cohesive narrative.
Cool. I saw it. It looks very cool. But here we go.
All right.
It's a funny old world. Man's lucky if he gets out of it alive.
Strangers, misfits from east of nowhere. Long void of passion, parched by an unforgiving sun. Without a name, without a conscience. Bullets. Discriminate against no one. Answering to their own God. Coin for their blood-stained hands. A seething purgatory, a lonely guitar. A dirge for those about to die. At the hands of desperados and Italian filmmakers in spaghetti westerns. Saturdays at 8 p.m. This month on TCM. A landscape of emotion. Misshapen by wild blue hearts. Weathered by years of regret. Strangers walk a tightrope with no end. While playing into the hands of director Michael Curtiz. Tuesdays and Thursdays all this month. From the valley of the unconcerned, a stranger with a pistol-hot mouth of wisecracks.
Keep your hands off my lunch, will you?
Spills himself a drink while dealing razor wit from the bottom of the deck.
Beginner's luck, gentlemen.
Star of the month, W.C. Fields, Mondays at 8 p.m. Untamed, unashamed. There's a place for them this month on TCM.
Very cool. That was very cool. Yeah, I love how that was a very hard thing to do, but I love how it all sort of mixed in together. Yeah. And I love the red coming across like,
yeah.
Did you know Scott Lansing at all?
Sure. Yeah, I know Scott. Worked with him a bunch of times.
Okay.
Great editor.
Yeah.
Does a lot of their...
I haven't seen him for years and years and years, but him and some of the people from TCM would do shoots where they would do it this month and they would shoot stuff. I don't know if you worked with him on any of those, but those were very cool because you could incorporate, like there was one where it was on a train and they were shooting people on a train and then they'd cut in the footage and they'd kind of make it match a little bit. Those were very cool.
Yeah, those are fun, tricky. But yeah, Ben Prisk, he's an artist that did a bunch of stuff on Squidbillies, other Cartoon Network stuff. He did the graphics for that one.
Okay.
He was at TCM for a little while. And always fun to work with. And then also Jin at TCM.
Yeah,
He's
I remember Jin.
Incredible animator.
Yep.
And always good to work with.
So did Jin do the things that were like, you know, spaghetti westerns, 8 p.m., that stuff? Okay, yeah.
I think he did that. And then also Ben did more of the splashes of color and the droplets and the kind of... trying to get that spaghetti western feel. All those wipes.
Yep.
Ben would feed me stuff and we'd experiment and see what worked.
It's so much fun, man. When you're an editor and you have time like that. I mean, there were times where I did features for Turner Sports, and I would have a few days, but usually it was a day or two turnaround for like a 4-minute piece or a 3-minute piece, and you're just grinding, and it's like you don't even have time to try out different versions. You got to figure something out and go with it. But Filmstruck, I don't know if you did any Filmstruck stuff. I did.
Yeah, great. I loved it.
It was so much fun. I did one with Scott and Charlie, Jean-Luc Godard, and then
they do.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit. What was the last thing you said? I missed it.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, I was just saying I loved working on Filmstruck because it was so artsy. It was kind of like going back in time to that old TCM sort of framework. Whereas today, everything, even at TCM, I mean, much more fast-paced, and no one has the budget or the time to, license Radiohead music or do all kinds of really creative things. It's a little more budget-oriented everything.
Yeah, and faster too. Definitely faster turnarounds. Okay, so when I met you 15 years ago, you had Guillotine Post, and you had a really cool space with a bunch of edit rooms, and it was over by Willie's Cheesesteaks. That's the only way I could say. But then you've since moved a couple times.
Woody's, actually. Yeah.
Woody's, right.
Woody's Philly cheesesteaks. Yes.
Very good cheesesteaks.
I get that right. Yeah.
Right, very good. Yeah. Everybody call 1-800-WOODY'S and order a cheesesteak today. No, but you moved a couple times. Now you're in a new space. Tell us about it. And you also do production. You direct, you write. Tell us about Guillotine Pictures.
Okay. Well, I started in the business doing production work and having to take things from the beginning concepts to hiring the crew and getting the script and then taking it through post-production. So somewhere around, I guess somewhere after in the 2000s, people started to ask for turnkey productions. Hey, can you guys shoot this stuff and then pull everything together, give us one package price? We don't want to have to shop it around. And, it used to be everything, you had your production crew, and then that was separate from the post. But we started getting requests, and I was like, sure, love to do production. So I kind of got back into that. And mostly we work on a request kind of basis. We don't really pound the pavement or go after every request for proposal that's out there. We kind of do select work and still do some work that's just post. Other work we turnkey. The Credo national spots that we did for Credo Mobile was a fun project that we did for 44. They're a digital agency here in Atlanta. And it was a chance to kind of pull everything together. It was back before COVID, so you could be in a room with 20 people and, be shooting it. We did 3 days of shooting. We, pick all the talent, all the wardrobe, all the stuff, trying to dress every shot. We worked with a smoke machine, a fog machine, so you had to let all that stuff settle before you can shoot anything. And it was a lot of work, but it was fun. And Tim Glover was the DP on that. He's fantastic.
Okay.
Love working with Tim.
And as far as shooting, can you say what cameras you use? Because it looks really good. It looks like a high-end commercial.
Yeah, that was all done with, I think we used the Aeroflex on that one.
Okay.
And we had all, Zeiss lenses. And Tim only, he only works with the best stuff. He's got great cameras and gear. He knows how to light really well, so you get a natural feel, even though you're pumping light into windows and other places.
Right.
And stuff.
And did the agency handle the casting, or was that you?
We worked with 44 and their end client Credo. They had the relationship with Credo, who's out of San Francisco, and so we worked with them. But we had to get them all the headshots, get the cattle calls through all the agencies, get auditions, all that kind of stuff. And we helped, whittle that all down. And, we have our opinions. But, when you're in a situation like that, the client's got the opinion and the agency, we just go, okay, let's do it. Yeah. You can't really have the auteur approach with that kind of project.
Right. And do you know Jim Isa and Dave Drabick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because both of those guys are doing similar things. They're doing the whole turnkey, start to finish, and shooting and pre-production and everything. And that sort of seems to be the way. And as an editor, I'm doing some freelance editor stuff, but I'm looking for a staff editor gig, but also possibly a podcasting gig because I love this podcasting thing so much.
Yeah.
But everywhere you apply is like, we want you to do After Effects and shoot and edit the podcast and like 15 things. And I have experience with a lot of those things, like 12 of them, but I wasn't doing Cinema 4D. I wasn't doing and it's like, come on, guys, there's like 15 things here. And then you get out to the bottom and you look at the salary and it's like $35,000. You're like, really? You want this person to do everything by themselves and you're going to pay them $35,000? So it's kind of funny. The cool thing is that there's a lot of remote work now. And like you said, you were working with people from San Francisco. And so, yeah, things have definitely changed. A lot of Turner stuff was like, okay, you're just the editor. It started out being everything, but eventually it was like, you're the editor. We have a sound guy. We have a graphics person. We have, all that, and color correction person. And it was all separate. But now it's definitely everything's going back towards, we don't have enough time. Can you mix this? Can you color correct this? Can you, because you've done it.
I think it's good and bad. When I started in the business, your motion graphics were done by the motion graphics department.
Right.
You did the editing. You didn't even online. You didn't even finish your piece, let alone color correct or anything. I like that it's combined, but I think today people expect people to have this incredible vision from beginning to end. It takes quite a bit of experience to really see something for what it should be, know how to budget it, price it, get the right crew, get it shot, the right talent, and then work your post-production and do it all. And I still like to work with partners doing various things, because sometimes just doing it all yourself, it just becomes a grind, and you can get yourself stuck creatively because you're just too many logistics. It's hard to be at the top of your creative game and your edit game and thinking of new ideas when you're really just bogged down by all the other details.
Yeah, it's hard to focus when you're dealing with like 15 different things and logistics and everything. So, but yeah, that's the world we live in now. It's very different. Yeah. But this has been.
But you mentioned the studio. So we had our office that we were in for 15 years. We were over in Midtown, and we used to have like Atlanta Film Festival parties, stuff like that. And then I was renting out to Fugo Studios and White Dog Studios that do audio. And then I guess North Avenue, North Creative Post, and Jimmy and Arcade 160, they basically they bought our space, they bought our building, and then we went with bare knuckles into their space for a while. And then Fugo Studios came back to us and said, hey, we got a cool space in Castleberry Hill. You want to come down here? So it worked out really well. We got this killer space. It's got an insert stage. It's got big open spaces. And it even has a pool, actually, which is kind of nice this summer.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. It's in Castleberry Hill, and you have to come down, and I'll give you the tour.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have so what is there, like a couple sound rooms there and a couple edit rooms, or what? How is it?
There's we have a couple edit rooms there, but Fugo's got some edit rooms there too. Kurt's got a full kind of a theater downstairs with surround sound.
Okay.
And so there's quite a bit to the place. I think it's 8,000 square feet. So
wow,
nice big buildings spread out in.
Right. Yeah. And how do people find your online? How do they find Guillotine?
We are on Facebook. We've got Guillotine Posts, Guillotine Pictures, and on YouTube, Guillotine Posts and Guillotine Pictures both have tons of different work samples that we've done there. We're on Twitter occasionally. I probably don't do it as often as I should. LinkedIn, starting to get more on Instagram, and but there's a lot to keep up with as a
But you do have a website, right? Because I saw a website.
Yeah, we have a website too.
Okay.
Sorry, avidediting.com.
Okay.
Or it's also guillotinepost.com.
Okay.
A couple different ways you can get there. We used to do a lot of Avid work, so we took this Avid editing web address, and then since then I do zero Avid right now. So.
So are you in Premiere?
Yeah, I'm doing everything in Premiere.
Okay.
It seems to be, it can pull in the most varying sources and all make them play together.
Yeah.
You don't have to transcode everything before you work. So
yeah,
it's
in
nice.
the Creative Suite, you're paying for it anyway, so you might as well be in Premiere than Avid or Final Cut. It's going to be real expensive with those two to separate.
Yeah, seems to be the new standard, I'd say.
I think
Premiere.
so. At mostly. I do know that a lot of Hollywood films out in Burbank use Avid still, and I think it has to do with just them doing it for so many years and not wanting to change the whole facility.
I think for a feature, Avid actually makes a lot of sense because they develop software that works along with the script and the scripting process, and it takes a long time to digitize, but it's a very rock solid format. Once you got everything in there, it's not going to crash and you lose all your stuff, which can happen on a lot of other formats. And I'm not sure Premiere is a great format for feature film. It can get really bogged down after your project gets to a certain size.
Right. Yeah, and Avid does really well collaboration, so you can have a bunch of assists accessing the same project. Whereas Premiere, they just started doing it, and there's some kinks because we tried to do it at Turner a little bit. It was like, okay, just make sure you back up the project before you start moving stuff around and deleting stuff or whatever, because we want to go back to that project. It says it does certain things, but yeah, it's probably better for film. All right, so the last question I always ask people, Mike, is, advice. What advice do you have for someone who wants to get into this industry? I know it's a crazy time right now, but in general, how do you network? How do you get that first job? How do you just make, a lot of people have said, just make stuff and post it and keep sending it. What's your advice?
It's a good question. I guess my advice would be, Atlanta is a pretty big community for film, for video, for corporate, for advertising, for digital, and there's a lot of people out here doing it. There's a lot of competition, but there are groups like Atlanta Film Festival. It's a great networking group. You can get to know tons of other filmmakers. There's resources you have access to. There's education. They have mixers and places you can kind of meet other people. There's also the GPP, Georgia Production Partnership. Tons of talented people there in feature films, in advertising, and in television, as well as corporate and other production. There's a ton of people out there, and it is a competitive market. Now, if you're really talented and you've got a vision, you want to make your film, every part of it, and that's great. I applaud you. But for a lot of people, it helps to just get on with anybody on a project as an assistant, whether you're paid or unpaid. Try to learn how other people work. Every crew you're on is going to work a little differently. Every post-production operation works a little differently. So the more you can work with other people, see what they bring to the table, learn for yourself, and then look for other opportunities along the way. Not to mention, keep everybody you work with happy and be cheerful and easy to work with.
Yes.
Because nobody wants to be around somebody who's complaining that he's not getting paid for being there.
Right.
It's if you want opportunities, you got to put yourself in a position that people want you around.
Yeah.
And if people want you around, you will learn so much. And it's one of those things. There's so many different things to learn in this business that finding somebody that you admire, if you like their work, find them, see if you can work for them. Because there's a ton of people that do better than others. Some of them do better than others. And I always try to look for people who I love their work and then try to find them and hey, how can I work with you? I'll be glad to just be an assistant. You know, I did some assisting when I was first learning Avid, worked for free. And then once you got the skills, then you can market yourself and start to make some money.
Right. Yeah, that's what Jimmy said.
It takes a while.
Yeah, Jimmy Guthrie said, I think he worked for a month for free before they were like, okay, let's just hire this guy. He's here every day.
It takes, unfortunately, it often does take that to get those opportunities. The other thing you could do, if you have content that you want to produce and know how to produce, everyone's looking for content right now. You know, Netflix is running out of stuff. Everybody's at home watching 24/7. So if you have content, you know, it's a great time to be creating it, writing it. Even if you're just writing it or working on it, then you can also meet other people that can help you bring your project to life. You know, a lot of people think, I can't talk about my project because it's too precious and someone's going to steal my ideas.
Right, yeah.
I think that happens very little.
Yeah.
In order to make any project work, you have to be passionate about it. And if you're passionate and you go with, you know, hit it with everything you got, then you've got a good chance of having some success.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree. So, Michael, this has been awesome. In about 2 months, I'm going to turn this into an audio podcast. I'll let you know. But this is sent out to all those different social platforms, and if you can share it too.
Sure.
And yeah, man, I would definitely love to come by and check your place out at some point. We'll talk about it. Yeah.
Good.
But good luck with everything, and yeah, man, I love your work, and it's been great seeing you. It's so cool. Like do you know Wayne Johnson?
Of course.
Yeah, so
I worked on hundreds of projects with
Really?
Wayne.
Wayne's the greatest. And
great guy.
Mike Thomas also have been very helpful and supportive with this podcast. They're like, dude, I don't know what you're doing, but just keep going. Which has been, and they've actually helped me find some guests, and they were both actually one of my first guests because I've worked with them for years. But Wayne and I were in an edit room literally for 8 or 10 years, like every day. And he just like told me stuff during the podcast, as you have, that I had no idea about. I didn't know you were in a band. I didn't know you moved your place 3 times. I knew you'd worked on this Basically Frightened, but not much more. And so yeah, it's a very cool thing to get a little bit deeper into what people have done and hear about their career and hear how they became successful. It's a very fun thing to do. So thanks so much.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. It's been great.
Yeah, man. I will talk to you soon, and thanks, and have a great day. Thanks, Michael.
All right.
Okay.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.